So if you can make me laugh, I'll give you some tonight.
No, not funny. That's not even funny. If you've tuned in to see if you can argue with your spouse and still be madly in love, you're in the right spot.
I'm Kent.
And I'm Annie.
And we're the
Kilkos.
Sound like a game show.
We're your host of Life's Little Arguments. We're not trained experts in love and marriage. Actually, we might be quite dysfunctional, but we have been happily married for 16 years.
Debatable.
Not only will we share all the ups and downs of marriage, but the ins and outs of raising his and her kids, growing through new jobs and opportunities, and our latest obsession, our empty nest babies, our dogs, Blakely and Lincoln.
So if you hear ting, ting, ting across the microphone, they're probably walking across the floor.
Listen in each week while we discuss our life, current events, random TikToks, and the little arguments that undoubtedly come up. Whether you're in a long-term relationship yourself or in a fresh new relationship, we hope you find our podcast fun, entertaining, and helps you realize there is a normal in life's little arguments. It was so bad.
Well, you were supposed to say something. You
I
didn't say
know,
anything.
that was the whole point. I didn't want to say anything.
Whatever.
That was the whole point. I didn't want to say anything right there. And because I knew no matter what I did, you were going to laugh anyway. So that was a no-win situation.
And that dog, if you're new, that dog is Lincoln. It's our boy dog, Bish Poo.
There's Linky.
Bichon Poodle Mix, and Blakely's the white one. You'll see her hop over here in just a minute too. So.
Well, hey guys, we are back with
It's been 2 weeks.
It's been 2
3
weeks.
weeks. Two or 3 weeks.
Well, I don't. How do you count? It's been 2 weeks gone. So
Yeah.
does that mean it's been 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think it's been 2 weeks.
That's is it? That's kind of the whole situation about next.
Yeah, next week.
Next Thursday, next Monday. Is
Yeah.
it next Monday or is it this coming Monday? Like I say this Monday.
Yeah. And I say
this
whatever the
coming.
next one is.
So which is it? Which is correct?
So for example,
We need people to weigh in.
like next Thursday is tomorrow.
I think next Thursday is next Thursday. Tomorrow is tomorrow.
Well, duh. But if you said
I
but if
mean-
you said next Thursday, you'd be talking about tomorrow. But anyhow,
I wouldn't. I'd be talking
we
about next
we do
Thursday.
say this opposite of one another. We always have because you get so frustrated. I'm just asking for clarification.
I'm like at this point, like I need you to just give me a date. Tell me the date of what you're talking about because we are so confused.
Because I have dates
don't-
memorized for sure.
Well, clearly you do not.
Well,
But
you don't either.
I know what the freaking date is on the
Okay.
calendar, and I can look.
Okay.
So, whatever. Anyway, we're back. Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome. So 2 weeks. 2 weeks were out. We went on vacation, which we had told you guys about, I think, after our last podcast. And then when we got back, everyone was sick. Like everybody.
It's crazy.
It was horrible. It was I don't know what massive bio bug we brought back from.
Well, you think about it, like
Florida,
we went
but
to
it was
Universal. We went to Universal, and there's literally people from all over the world. Not just all over the country,
That's
but
why I
all
call it
over the
bio
world.
bug. Yes.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. So, yeah, like both of the kids got tested negative for everything. But we all basically had the same thing. Like,
We all had very different symptoms.
Well, you
though,
and I think
random,
we're pretty close.
Well, similar, but I mean, at like different timings,
Yeah.
and mine wasn't as bad as yours was. And
Mine lasted a full week. I can't even tell you the last time I was sick for a full week.
Jackson was horrible. He had zero voice. I've never not had completely like no voice. He could not talk. I couldn't even speak to him on the phone.
Oh my God! How did y'all survive?
It was tough.
I bet. Gee, I bet he didn't. I bet he did nothing for 3 days when he couldn't talk. And when he couldn't call his mom and ask what to do.
You are such a hater. Why
No, I'm
is
just
he
saying.
such a hater?
Why is the screen doing that like that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's wanting to people interact. So you guys, like if you're watching this on TikTok, then interact with us.
Yeah, send us some questions.
We don't really know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We've only done the podcast on TikTok a few times live.
I feel like the people that listen to us, through the regular podcast apps need to weigh in on this as well and tell us like, are they annoyed by us?
What's the podcast? The podcast is called Life's
Talking
Little
about
Arguments.
this?
So we got a
Because
question. We got a
it
first
does
question.
seem
It's called Life's
strange.
Little Arguments. Can be found on any of the streaming platforms.
Yes, and we've
as
been
well as
doing
YouTube.
it. I don't know. We've got 40 something.
I think this is 42 or 43 episodes.
Yeah, something episodes. So
you can start from the beginning if you want, or you can just kind of pick up. Each episode is kind of independent of each other. So
all right. So I'm going to ask the people that listen through the podcast app. Can you please tell us, like, is this aggravating, annoying? Because if so, then we'll cut this out because I think I would get annoyed. But anyway, whoa, what just happened right there?
Big Bro Talk says, what's it about? You kind of covered that already, but just like our life, kids' lives, adult kids,
We're married.
jobs.
We're married. This
We've
is
been
the
married
second time
16
being married
years.
for both of us,
Dogs.
his and her kids.
We literally talk about everything. There's really
Divorce,
nothing that's
marriage,
off limits. So
pregnancies, all that good stuff.
Yep.
And speaking of, so I just want to start out with Mom Talk. For those of you that are not watching Mom Talk, first of all, what are you doing with your life? Where have you been, and why are you not watching? And if you're not watching, you've not heard of Mom Talk, then you need to go back, rewind, go to Hulu, go to season 1, watch season 1, and then catch up with us on season 2.
Yeah, you definitely need to watch season 1 first, though.
For sure. Because, and we're just going to jump right into it. So if you have not watched it yet and you want to watch it, you don't want us to spoil anything, then you need to fast forward probably 10-ish minutes, I'm guessing, in the podcast. Because we are fixing to talk about it. Because we've binged it. Lauren wanted to watch it, and so we've been watching it.
Like 3 days or something.
The three of us together have been watching
10
it.
episodes in season 2.
And we are done, caught up. I think what's all left is like the season finale, probably.
No, I think we've gone
Was
through all
that the
10
season
episodes.
finale?
If there was 10 episodes, we've gone through 10 episodes, unless there's something else that comes out. But they didn't call it a season finale for whatever reason.
Last year they didn't have a reunion,
right?
And so I'm wondering, are they having a reunion? And then so you left. You didn't see all of last episode. Actually, you and Lauren went to get her car, and so you guys there was like 15 minutes left.
Oh.
And I watched it, and it made it seem like there was another episode coming out.
Oh, okay.
Or it was the final like season wrap up type thing, and maybe it was a reunion. I don't know, but.
So Lauren and I need to go back and watch that then, I guess.
That last 10 minutes or whatever. But anyway, it is, everybody's doing the whole, ranking them in order of, like 1 through 10 or whatever it is. And I thought it would be fun to do that, but I don't know that I can remember everybody's name to do that without having like my phone or something else to look at right this second.
Yeah.
So
who are your top 3?
Let's do your top 3 and your bottom 1.
My favorite top 3.
Well, that would be your top. It would also be your favorite.
I would have to say, believe it or not, Taylor this year.
Okay.
This season. She wasn't last season.
Okay, hold on. Who do you remember last season enough to say who was in your bottom last year or who was your top last year?
I would say Taylor was probably in my bottom last year because I feel like that the power had gone to her head last year, and it's kind of flipped a little bit this year. But I would say Taylor's my number 1. Zach, believe it or not, he was a douche last year. This year, I feel like he was actually pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like he was really trying to work on their relationship. And then,
what about Whitney?
Whitney, I think, made a comeback too. I didn't like Whitney last year, but I liked her this year.
Whitney was definitely the villain last year.
Yeah.
She was set up to be the villain last year.
Well, she caused a good bit of it too, but yeah.
She did, and I'm sure, but there's a lot of editing that goes into all of this as well. I would say Whitney was my least favorite, probably. She was the villain. I don't know that she was my least favorite. I think some of the ones that just weren't very interactive on the show were probably my least favorite. But yeah, I think last year I would have said at the end of the season, Demi was probably my favorite. Like she was very level-headed, I felt like. She spoke very well. I liked her. I liked Macy a lot, I felt like, last year. This year, man, it just took a turn.
Yeah.
It took a turn.
So apparently Demi has won or something, was voted America's favorite.
Apparently.
Somewhere, somehow.
Somewhere.
And let me just tell you, Demi is...
She's beautiful.
She's strikingly gorgeous.
She is.
Yeah.
She's very beautiful.
But man, this whole power trip she came out with this year made her look ugly. Like it was like, I was like, bro, like to go from last year where she really probably was a crowd favorite to this year where this girl's going to catch some absolute heat online. Yeah. If she's not, I'm sure it's already happening. But
I feel like she's tough enough to take it though, and I think she'll bounce back from it pretty easily without too much problem. But yeah, she definitely is giving very mean girl vibes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that, having said that, the producers, shame on them. Shame on them for this episode, where there's no way in hell that this was Layla's idea to have this pregnancy test roulette, where they basically, all of them, all 10 of them, however many there were, all take a pregnancy test. They then put them in a bowl, they mix them up, they pull them out for a TikTok, to make a TikTok. And of course, surprisingly to most of them, they end up with, there's a positive result in there. Of course, as a watcher, as a viewer, we know that there is going to be a positive in there. Now, what we didn't know is that there were going to be 2 positives in there, the way they edited the show, but we find out there's, 2 positive results. So anyway, the reason it was very cruel, in my opinion, because it does talk about, probably in the episode prior, Demi shares that she is having the fertility issues, and that she and her husband are going through this and doing different things, trying to get pregnant, and she wants so desperately to get pregnant and to have a baby with somebody that she loves so much. And you guys know, if you have been with us and you've listened to all the episodes, you heard our episode early on about fertility issues and what we went through, and like, that tugged at my heartstrings. It was so sad. I felt exactly the feelings that she was feeling in that moment of, I never get a yes, and to pull a yes and it not be hers. Like, that was
twice.
That was cruel. It was cruel, and shame on them. Shame on those producers to do that. That to me is like, I'm not about this cancel culture, and like, people do make mistakes, but you know what? To me, a producer on that show, they knew how that was going to impact her. To me, you're gone. Get the fuck out. That is cruel on another level that is completely unacceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that, especially with the way, and this is somewhat unrelated to that, but I think that these producers, I mean, I get they have to do it for entertainment and all this other stuff, but the way internet trolls are nowadays, like, there has to be at some point some level of responsibility for whoever's creating these narratives, these storylines.
Oh, yeah.
For example,
also,
So for example, Taylor doing what she did about saying no one supported me during the CMAs, yada yada yada, and then the other girls just took absolute heat. I mean, the problem is there's some fucking crazy people out there who really will, take action. It's scary. I mean, but it really is. But to your point, that there's certain things that I think are just kind of off limits. Like, kids are off limits. Doing that with the whole pregnancy thing, I think, was off limits. But I want to go back and change the vote. I think that Macy was probably in my top 3 because she, to me, is the one that is probably the best at managing both sides. Because this particular season, it was very clear there was this side and that side, and I don't think she wasn't two-faced or anything like that. Michaela started off mean girling. I mean, she was right there with Demi, and I didn't like it. I was like, that's not cool. Jesse was doing it, but then the last 2 or 3 episodes, Michaela, I guess, kind of came back to her, which she and Macy are best friends. So it made sense that she kind of fell more in line with the way Macy is. So
yeah, I think you kind of watch Michaela's journey, and I think she's just starting to find like her voice in what she's been going through, or what she has gone through in her childhood. And so I think that's where some of that mean girl was coming through. It was anger. It's anger that she's dealing with. And now, that doesn't mean that she's not really just pissed off at like Whitney and can't stand Whitney, but I just feel like that's somewhat was coming through that way. But I have like what is it, the armchair
quarterback,
basically.
Yeah,
I was gonna say like psychiatrist, counselor. I'm the armchair
You're
counselor.
A degree in armchair psychology.
Yes, exactly. So that would be my take on that. So I don't know. And to me, like I did not like the fact that she was pushing, when somebody is pushing me so hard that you think I need to side with you, or you need to think that I need to take I just need to think the way that you're thinking. I'm not allowed to have my own opinion. And if I give you my opinion and you still fight me on it because you think I should be siding with you, like, I'm like, well, like, hold your horses. Like, that's not that's not okay.
I can think like I want to think, yeah.
Yeah, we're both allowed to have our own opinions. I don't have to agree with you. And just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean we can't be friends. I just don't necessarily have that take on it. And I feel like Michaela and I feel like Macy did both step up at the end and say that to her. Even Jessie somewhat.
Yeah, after the comment about the hair, Jessie was, she was, yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame her. I'd be pissed off too. That pissed me off too. And honestly, Jessie probably was like even like irritated in the moment, and the more she's probably sat and thought about it and then watched it back, she's probably just gotten even more pissed off, I'm guessing. So anyway, it's been a very good season. I feel like we're going to get about 3 seasons out of these girls, and then they're going to implode, and you're either going to bring new moms in and make a whole new MomTok, or the show's going to be done, one of the two.
Which they've done that with just about every Housewives too. Like they introduce 2 or 3 new people because so and so has a riff, or so and so gets tired of doing it, or
they do. But typically you've made it usually 5, 6, 7 seasons before that starts to happen. Yeah. But it's just it's so different because this is just the landscape, this whole TikTok thing, and that's how they make money or whatever. And they can say, oh, community over competition.
Oh, jeez.
But it is very much, that's got to be hard for them I think the whole point of the MomTok is that they all supported each other, which allowed more people to see all of the things, right? And so that was great for all of them to grow. But now that they've all grown and they're getting brand deals and whatever, it's like, it's hard not to be like, okay, well, why did Taylor and Layla get to go to this thing at Times Square or whatever it was? And I don't. And I think that's, the edit that Demi, whatever her name is, it definitely put some of that in there.
Yeah.
And whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't know what kind of brand deals that she's getting, but it seems a very difficult landscape, I would think, to maneuver. But I'm enjoying it. We've watched it. We're going to keep watching it. I'll probably go back and
not till next year now.
Well, that's true. I'll probably go back and rewatch, just because I feel like you guys freaking talk through the whole thing. Sometimes it drives me crazy. So anyway.
Cool.
You want to talk about vacation, or you want to talk about community over competition, or
vacation? Yeah.
Vacation.
What?
Okay. So we went to Universal and we went to Hollywood Studios because Jackson and Ashley had wanted to go. They like to ride rides, and what I have found out through this vacation is that they like thrill rides. They are not about this 4D, really go in and sit, and they want to be moving. They want roller coasters and fast. And I didn't necessarily understand that going into it. And so, me, I geek out over Harry Potter stuff, and I am
the whole experience.
Yeah. Like, it's like, oh my God, when you put me in Harry Potter world, I literally could stay there all day long. And if I didn't think you would think I was crazy, I would probably get one of those damn wands and be out there doing the spells as well with all these little kids.
I'm glad you did not do that.
I did not do that. But I don't know what, it just seems so magical. I just keep coming back to the word magical. It's so magical to me. And then we went to Hollywood Studios because I wanted to absolutely be able to do the Star Wars stuff because that's my childhood. And I think we've talked about it. You didn't really grow up. Star Wars wasn't really your thing.
No, I mean, I remember having the ships and I had the toys and I would watch it. Like, I remember it, but it was, I guess, kind of what I would consider like the old school Star Wars.
Well, yeah.
And I was into it, but I don't know that it has the same level of nostalgia for me as it does to you. But I think that partly because I've not gotten into the newer stuff, and you have. Like, you literally follow it from story to story to story. Yeah. And like, once I got past a certain age, like if we were to go watch it at the movies, like I would go with you guys just to go to the movies.
Is there anything in your life that has that kind of nostalgia for you?
I think if anything, it would probably be sports. When you think about like Michael Jordan or something like that, I think that's probably the closest thing that I can think of.
You just don't have that. that kind of makeup or bone. Or
yeah,
whatever.
just it's never really. Not don't get me wrong, the Star Wars thing that was cool as shit, but whether or not I was into Star Wars or not, it would have been cool. The Harry Potter stuff, it's cool to me. I don't get into it the same way you get into it. So I think I just appreciate it for what it is, but I don't get into the, oh, I remember this and I remember that and that's so special. But the other difference is like you literally could go and name every character in Star Wars. I couldn't name anyone other than Han Solo and Princess Leia and Chewbacca and Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you've named quite a few.
The base R2D2. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like the basic ones though. But yeah, you and Jackson have always kind of been into that. And same thing with like Harry Potter. Like I never really got into it. But I do enjoy kind of going to the theme park because just the amount of time and effort and creativity and it's like literally they think of every single thing.
I was blown away. So clearly Star Wars is a core memory for me. I don't know why necessarily. I do remember a moment in time when I was young where I can remember walking into the movie theater with my dad and I smell the popcorn and we are going to watch Star Wars. And so, but like, I think the original Star Wars came out in like 1977. So like I was only 2 years old. So it had to have been, Empire Strikes Back that I went to the movies, I'm guessing, to see where that memory is from. But it was such a memory for me that my dad had made we had a zip line in our backyard. And what I remember of the zip line, and Dad has told me that this is pretty much an accurate reading, like it started at the top of a hill, and it was a humongous oak tree that it started at, and it went down the hill and attached to like there's one at the very bottom of the hill. There's a tree that it attached to, and then it went back up to another tree slightly farther on down, and so you went down and kind of up, and then kind of came like halfway back, and it was a pretty big drop. He said from where the very tip top, was. And I named it the Skywalker. Like it was a zip line, but I called it the Skywalker because that's what we were into. And so it was the coolest thing I have ever seen. And I think the moment where it was really like, oh my God, is when we were on the, Rise of the Resistance, not Resilience.
I wouldn't have known to correct you there.
Rise of the Resistance ride, and when we went into first of all, the first part coming
was that the one with the magnetic floor?
That was the one when we came into. We were on the Empire ship, and we walked into all of the stormtroopers. Okay, yeah. Okay, that was fucking phenomenal.
The whole thing, everything they did.
Then when we got onto the ride, and we went into the room that had the ATATs. I don't know what they're called.
AT-ATs.
AT-ATs. They were huge. And that's where I was like, oh my God, this is insane. It was so freaking cool. It was so freaking cool. Now here's they thought of everything, but Lauren and I went back through, and now that I'm thinking about it, it was on the other ride. I forget what it's called. On that ride, the bootleggers or whatever, I can't remember what it's called. On that one, when we went into the waiting room where the little droid was and Rey like hologrammed in, do you remember that part?
Yeah.
Okay, so when Lauren and I went back that night and rode it, the line was so short that we walked through there and didn't stop at all. So like, depending on when you go, you may or may not get that full experience, which is crazy to me because that was so cool too. And I knew it was coming. I knew she was fixing the hologram in, but I was like, this is so freaking cool. And that's just in the waiting area. Like, it's just so insane. It's so insane.
Yeah.
The Rise of the Resistance was crazy, the way that they moved you through to get, and you literally felt like you were in space. We felt like we were on an aircraft and we were taking like heat, and then we got pulled in by the tractor beams. We were opened up and ushered off of the ship when we entered the Empire ship to all of those stormtroopers, and it was crazy. It blew my mind.
So I think that's what makes like Universal and Disney so special, is because like you're saying, like, even when you're waiting in line, you're entertained. I mean, there's something to look at. There's fans, there's AC, there's shade, it's just so much different than like a normal theme park would be.
Yeah.
Like a Busch Gardens or Six Flags.
They called it Galaxy's Edge because when you walk in, you literally are walking into like one of the Star Wars planets, and it's, you're at their market area, and the food is like what it is.
Tailored to that,
I literally, after that Rise of the Resistance ride, we went, of course the bathroom had to pee like 1,000 times. I literally was peeing and I started crying. Like, I literally started to tear up. I was like...
You did. We were like, where is she at?
This literally, like, I don't know that I will see that again in my life. Like, unless we make it really a point to go back down there, I don't know that I'll see it again. And so to be able to have that experience, like, it was so... I got overwhelmed with emotion, which sounds absolutely crazy. I realize I sound crazy right now. But I did. And so I'm really glad that, Ashley and Jackson wanted to go do that, asked us to go do it, and that I'm really glad that, you made it happen for us, because it was very special.
So you said something, and I'm really curious to know. You talked about going to watch Star Wars with your dad, the popcorn, like how much, and I'm sitting here wondering, like, why is it that she's drawn to this maybe more than I am? Do you think that the whole movie experience and, that being something you did with your dad and the popcorn, and because to this day you love popcorn, like that was something that connected the two of you? Like, do you feel that was as much a part of the nostalgia of these movies and stuff as anything else?
I'm sure to some degree it is, because definitely I remember, like, we always ate popcorn together. Mom hardly, I very rarely remember Mom ever eating popcorn. And, Dad still to this day, he gets huge buckets of popcorn when he goes to the movie theater, and he eats it just like I do. So, like, very unhealthy, obviously. But, I share that. I guess that is one thing that we are similar in, or that I share with him. So, possibly. I don't know.
Because I'm sitting here thinking, like, I cannot recall. And maybe we did. I guess we did. I cannot recall ever going to the movies as a kid.
Really?
Now again, maybe we did, maybe we didn't. I don't know. But I also remember we used to have the Rama Theater, which was like $1, and it was literally, a mile from my house. I mean, I'm sure that we did.
Well, so, and I feel like my memory skips. So that's like that. I remember a few things from my childhood, but then it completely, skips fast forward, because I don't really recall ever going and doing those things like with my mom. And, when Mom and Dad got divorced, I definitely recall understanding that Mom struggled. Like, she really struggled. We were in a house that I feel like was as big as this room, honestly. Like, it was tiny. And, I just recall it was always a struggle. Matter of fact, of course, my mom was my mom, and so she was frugal, definitely frugal, and she knew how to stretch a buck. And I recall probably being 12, 13 years old, I don't know. We would go to McDonald's, and it's back when McDonald's had the McDLT. Do you remember the McDLT? It came in a white styrofoam, and it had the lettuce, tomato, whatever the McDLT, tomato, lettuce, tomato. So it had a bun with lettuce and tomato, and I'm sure like mayonnaise or something on there. And then this side had the bun with the hamburger. And of course, like, I liked it
You sure it wasn't a McBLT?
No, it was a McDLT.
What does the D stand for?
I don't know, Donald's.
The B would stand for burger.
I don't know. I'm just telling you,
Anyways.
it was a thing. So the McDLT, it was the largest hamburger.
I'm Googling this.
Google it.
Go ahead.
Because it was the largest hamburger that they had, because I didn't eat the bun. I only ate the meat. I would get it completely with nothing on it, plain, no cheese, nothing, and I ate the meat, and Mom would take the rest of the sandwich, and she would eat that. She never ordered anything for herself. She would eat 2 or 3 of our fries. She would get herself a Coke, but like that, I'm like, thinking back, I'm like, oh my God, like, I can't imagine taking Jackson to McDonald's and not getting something, or not eating the freaking meat. Like, really? And maybe she loved that, but I really don't think so.
So, you're right.
I know I am.
So, the McDLT was a McDonald's cheeseburger that came in a unique 2-compartment foam container designed to keep the hot patty and bun separate from the cold lettuce, tomato, and cheese. The burger was introduced in '85 and discontinued in the early '90s, primarily due to environmental concerns about styrofoam packaging.
Well, that '85, I would have been 10 to, 10
But let's
old.
talk about the fact that Chick-fil-A still uses styrofoam cups.
Oh God,
I
cups
cannot
are horrible.
I cannot understand
styrofoam cups from
I
Chick-fil-A.
cannot understand how that's allowed.
I can't either. It blows my mind. However, they do keep the drinks very cold, but it's horrible. It's horrible for the planet. But anyway, I remember that. And so, I don't remember. I feel like we struggled so much. Mom struggled, did not have the money, that we didn't go, do anything.
Yeah,
and even when she married Gary, I still always felt like it was a struggle, which is crazy.
Or they were at least very frugal nonetheless. So,
yeah, because, Gary, he did very well for himself. I would say for sure middle class. I wouldn't say upper middle class, but I mean, he was a principal. He made good money. I'm guessing Mom didn't make hardly anything at all, but I don't know. So I don't recall doing those things a whole lot. I would go to the movies obviously in high school, but
well, yeah, when you got older, but I just
Mom
I don't
went.
remember doing it as a kid. I really don't. And I don't
not like I did. Not like I took Jackson.
I don't really remember anything. Like I remember playing sports. Like honestly,
That's all you did.
I remember playing sports, and I could probably recall.
I'm not saying we went to a lot of movies.
No,
I'm just saying
I
I
know.
remember going to that movie.
No, but it just made me wonder if it was the fact that was something that you connected with your dad on. Is that really more so what has made that a core memory more than the movie, for example?
I don't know. It definitely stuck, and we went. My dad is a movie person. I mean, he definitely. We always, when we would come down, during the summer, we would come down 1 week in the summer and then 1 week at Christmas time, and that's pretty much all that we ever saw him. And we would usually go to the movies one time during that. And I know he and Lisa always for as long as I can remember, would have date night through the week. And they always went to a movie. Like
it's funny. You remember when we first started dating, you used to make fun of me because I had like a collection of DVDs. And then like you wanted to go to the movies. And I'm like, why the fuck would we go to a movie when we got a DVD right here? You know what I mean? Like I had a collection of them.
God, you did have
so
a
over the years,
we just got rid of some of those.
Yeah, but over the years, obviously I haven't bought a DVD in years, but I had gotten to where I enjoy going to the
16
movies.
To be correct.
I've gotten to where I enjoy going to the movies up until COVID, and of course they don't really make movies that much anymore.
Yeah, like that's something I do with the kids. Like they know if like, hey, a big movie's coming out, Mom's gonna take us. To them. Like that's our thing. We do that. And I can remember I took Jackson to at least Shrek 1 and 2, maybe Shrek 3. I can't really remember. And those type of things. As soon as he got to a point where he could sit through a movie, we were going. Yeah. To movies, and I still take them to movies.
We enjoy it. I'm glad that
anyway,
I'm glad that's something that you made happen.
It was just it was crazy.
What was funny the other day? We were talking, Lauren and I think you were part of the conversation where, Lauren's working at Sonny's or whatever, and we started talking about smoking sections, like at restaurants. When we were growing up, it was like you walk in and they were like, "Do you want smoking or not smoking?" Of course, both my parents smoked, which I hated, but we would. Of course, always have to sit in a smoking section. It was like there was no section. It was like there's no fucking wall. There's no plexiglass.
This booth or that booth?
Right. I remember, but I specifically remember Sonny's because we used to go there all the time. There was like this half wall in between, and that was literally a half. That was the only thing that was gonna. And it was just like looking back, it was like that was so dumb. But of course. You could smoke in hospitals. You could smoke in airplanes. I mean, like
they smoked at work.
It's so much different. But it was just like I had said that to her, and she was like, "What? Like you could smoke in restaurants?" I was like, "Yes, believe it or not." Like the idea of that being today, like there's I don't know. I would never go out to eat. I would never go out to eat. Which I don't even go to bars if it's a smoking bar. You know what I mean? Which they've cut most of those out too. But it's just I don't know the thought that wasn't all that long ago. You know what I mean? No. I mean, I guess it was, but anyways, I thought that was funny having that conversation with her the other day.
So we, at the theme park, I'm going to get there as close to opening as I can, and I'm shutting it down. Like, I've paid so much for these tickets. It is not a leave early situation for Annie Kilco. Annie Kilco is going to go until she drops or the park closes, and typically the park will close before I drop. And this time at 49, we we were popping those ibuprofen. We were popping Tylenol. I took like my like creams, my like BioFreeze and different things. I did liquid IVs in the morning. Went ahead and popped ibuprofen to begin with because we did a lot of walking. A lot of walking.
Yeah.
So, but that was something that was very different that Jackson and Ashley don't do. And so it was an interesting. We learned a lot, I think, about vacationing with them, and how, at least for an amusement park, how we would do it differently. So that was interesting. We had a moment where tensions got a little bit high, and are you not going to participate in this conversation at all?
You're talking.
So anyway, Lauren and Ashley had a moment, and I stepped in and I was like, "We're not doing this. We're not doing it." I didn't let them have that moment. Hindsight, I should have just let them have the moment. I should have let them have the moment.
No, you did the right thing.
So
it would have just escalated.
Yeah, so that was the first time we've had to deal with anything like that. That was the first time that we've had the situation where, we've really, there's been a friction, I would say. Now, Jackson and I, you and Jackson have had some moments. Jackson and I, of course, have moments, have and had pretty frequently because, we've already talked about the fact that you say we're so similar. Well, I don't see it as necessarily similar. I think he's, like, very stubborn.
I.e. similar.
So, like, that's not a big deal. But I was really just trying to, I felt like I was this entire time trying to really walk this line of, don't be the cruise director. Like, this is not, like, I'm trying to make sure everybody gets to do everything that they want to do in the time that they want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. Just because I want to do it doesn't mean you have to do it. Just trying to be overly accommodating to everyone and to them so that they could enjoy their time just like I could enjoy my time. And so that was tough. That was tough.
Yeah, I would say that
it wasn't tough, but it was different.
Yeah, it was different. But I would say that you're not typically the planner of the group.
Yeah, no.
But in this situation, you were the planner in the fact that you kind of knew what you wanted to do. And I think, I can't speak for them, but my guess is that when Ashley and Jackson go somewhere, Ashley makes the decisions on what's going to happen and when, and that kind of, and Jackson just kind of goes along with it. And so it was like, you can't have two cruise directors walking in the same group. Right. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. And but we did tell them a number of times, look, don't feel like you have to stay with you. Y'all go, we'll meet up. And I think, they wanted to ride with us. They wanted to be around us and all that stuff, which is cool. And I appreciate that. But I think that's a big part of it too, is when you have two people who are kind of acting in that same role, in the same group, it doesn't typically work out too well.
Yeah,
which is why I'm glad in our friend group we've got people that are planners, because we'll just, okay, y'all plan it, we'll ride with you guys, we'll roll with y'all.
That all sounds good. Pencil us in. No, same. I'm not necessarily, if there's something that I feel real strongly about, which obviously I did as far as this kind of stuff went.
Well, but also too, I mean, you add in 90 degrees, you add in walking 9 miles a day. I mean, you add in everybody's hungry and, that kind of thing too.
I think that was really the thing of trying to figure out the whole food situation, because it's like, okay, well, if you don't eat before you go, then you're basically at 10 o'clock, you're pretty much hungry and ready for lunch. Or if you do have breakfast, well, then it's like, okay, we're eating it maybe at 2, we're hungry. But then it's like, okay, well, if you eat at 2, like, what are we doing for dinner? It just, the whole thing. And then, the different, like, Ashley, her food, she's very strict with her food because, she's got stomach issues. And so she's, she eats certain things and she takes her food or whatever. And like I was really trying to be accommodating, to that. And I know Jackson is obviously, doing that as well. And so, I think it was just, it was difficult sometimes with the heat and with everybody being hungry at different times or whatever to satisfy that entire thing. So there was one point where it was the last day. I mean, we'd all been together pretty much for the entire time. And it was the last day, and it was at Hollywood Studios, and I wanted to do everything. And I knew that nobody else besides maybe Lauren really cared to do everything. You didn't even, I knew you didn't even either. And so, I wanted to do these particular things. They didn't want to, and people are getting hungry, and it's hot, and blah, blah, blah. And we're trying to figure out where we're going. Like, we're trying to find this restaurant. And they all have these apps, which is really nice, but I couldn't get mine to connect to do like the walking direction thing. And so we're walking and we're trying to figure out where it is, and none of us really seem to know where we're going, but we're following Ashley. And so I'm like, it's beating down the sun. They're at Hollywood Studios, they don't have quite the same areas that maybe are shaded that Universal would have. And so Lauren, she and I are walking together, and you're kind of behind, and they're up in front, and we're kind of just blindly following them. And Lauren and I are talking, and I was like, we should probably just go. Let's just go in this, store right here. I said that to her. Let's just go right here in the air conditioned store and like figure out where are we going. Like, we don't even really know where we're going. And so instead of me saying it, Lauren says it. And when Lauren says it, Ashley turns around and says, what is the problem? Like, we know where we're going, or
and we had already gotten turned around a couple times. But yeah,
something along those lines. I can't even remember. And it kind of popped off, and not a.
Because then Lauren was like, "Well, we apparently don't, because we've already gotten lost twice or something."
It hit me the same way. Like, it hit me the same way it hit Lauren. But I could feel it. Like, I knew it was fixing to come, and Lauren's like started to say, whatever. And so Ashley turns around and she's like, what? Like, I don't know, whatever she said, like, what, Lauren, or I don't know, whatever. And so Lauren started to say something along the lines of, you're not going to talk to me like that. You're not going to speak to me like that. And before Lauren could get it out, she started to say it, and I was like, we're not doing this. We're not doing it. And so I imagine I look like a crazy person probably, but.
Well, and I think that Jackson in particular has it's a real challenge for him, because like you're my person, right? Like,
yeah,
whatever, I'm going to have your back kind of thing or whatever. And I love Ashley, don't get me wrong, but like, you're my person. Well, Jackson's in a unique situation in that's his person,
yes.
but this is also his mom too,
yes.
And so he is torn in both directions, where I'm only torn in one direction, really.
So,
you know what I mean?
Okay, so that's funny that you say that, because Jackson and I then had a conversation about it after we got back home. He's sick. I'm trying to help him, whatever. I happened to see him. So we had the chance to kind of be together for about an hour, and I brought this up to him, and he had no idea that this was like even an issue or whatever. Or I guess he knew it was an issue, because he told them after the fact, after everybody kind of got some food and we sat down, everybody cooled down a little bit, he was like, y'all just like fist bump it out and be done with it. And so they did. But, Lauren and I, we talked about it because it bothered Lauren, and we talked about it on the way home, and we talked through the whole, Ashley has a sister, so Ashley has this dynamic with her sister that they probably have these arguments and had throughout their years growing up, and so she's comfortable doing that, whereas Lauren has not had the benefit of having any of those kind of interactions, because anytime she ever popped off or spoke back or tried to, voice her opinion, she was told that it was being rude, it was being disrespectful. And even when she's like, if she was trying to argue possibly with her sisters, she was told that was not allowed, basically. And so, Lauren has never experienced that. And that's why, I'm trying to get Lauren to understand that, I don't think this was meant in a, just real mean way. Like, yeah. I know it came off with a certain tone, but this is not your mom. This is not your mom. This is not your aunts. This is not, that's not who this is that's saying this to you, because I think it was a trigger for her. I think there's something about people speaking to her a certain way that is a trigger for her.
Yeah, we have learned over the last couple of years. She tells us stories about work and interactions and so forth, and there's something about when she perceives someone talking down to her that
Yeah.
that is an absolute trigger for her, and I get that, and I think I know where some of that comes from, but I also think that she's, because of maybe the limited amount of interaction that she's had going back and forth or with different people and that kind of thing, I feel like that sometimes she doesn't socially pick up on it the way it does. She'll come home and say, "I got yelled at work today," and I'm like, "You didn't
really
get yelled at."
Yeah.
I mean, somebody was just, they're frustrated with the wait time, or they're frustrated with the kitchen, or they're
They
frustrated.
may have spoken loudly.
Yeah.
What is the Jackson said? My what did he say? It was funny. Something about the volume we speak at.
I don't remember, but anyhow, it clearly. So we're trying to, when she says that kind of stuff to us, we say, okay, well, what was said and what was the context, and we try to coach her, for lack of better words, on, like, you have to understand that people, when they get frustrated in most situations, it's not you personally.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The fact that they had to wait 30 minutes is not an attack on you personally. You're a server. Or the fact that you were out of, ribs and pork that night, it's not an attack on you. You're the server. You can't control whether or not you're out of rib.
Right.
But I think that she takes it that way, and we try to explain to her, listen, this is always going to be the case. In any job that you ever have, you're always going to experience these types of things. And so I think it's, Ashley grew up with a sister closer to her age. That's, whatever. The sarcasm, I think sometimes Lauren has a hard time picking up on. And then really just kind of the full context, I think, sometimes too. And then that, like, Ashley and Jackson talk that way to each other too.
They do.
So I think that, like, that's probably why Jackson maybe didn't recognize it as much either, because they have that same level of, I don't know if it's sarcasm, banter, I don't know what it is. I don't know how to describe it, but I think that they do it with so much frequency that it's like that's just normal for them.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily normal for me. I mean, I do that, and you and I will go back at each other.
We very little, because you get your feelings hurt, and then it's like, I wasn't even fucking being for real. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get your feelings hurt real quick, and it's just like, okay.
Anyway, yeah. So just trying to get her to understand that this is. I think I really truly feel like you've been here long enough. Ashley's been in her family long enough that, and you guys have been around each other long enough that this is kind of a sisterly relationship, and it's not I think that you're less than me, or that you're not smart or anything like that. It's just literally like, it was a moment, she popped off, you started to pop off, and in hindsight, I should have just let her pop off. I should have let them just go at it, and they would have said what they had to say. And
Lauren even brought that up later.
She did.
Like the other day, really, because we always tell her, look, because she always says, and I said blah blah blah, and we're like, did you really say it? And she's like, no, but I thought it. Yeah. And we're like, well, you have to be able to, and not just to Ashley, I mean, just anybody. Like, you have to be able to stand up for yourself, and you have to be able to have these conversations without it, escalating into crazy stuff or whatever. And she was like, and the one time I stood up for myself, then Annie shuts me down or something.
I know. So hindsight, I should have just let them, have their little moment or whatever. But I was just so into trying to keep the peace and because I could feel it. I could feel the tension building by the third day, that everybody was like, okay, we're done. We're over it. We're over being around you. You're over being around us. Like, it's hot. You're not going on these roller coaster rides that you're interested in. I get it. I can feel the tension happening. And so I expected and knew this was, I could feel it coming. And so I was trying to just kind of jump on it and head it off at the pass. But hindsight, I should just let them do their little thing. But anyway, they all got over it. But I had the conversation with Jackson, and he did not feel, you said he felt possibly this tug of, Ashley's his person, and like, I'm his mom.
Right, okay, yeah. Right,
but he did not.
Okay.
Ashley's his person, and so he was fully like, she did nothing wrong. And I I was like,
do you think he really felt like that?
yeah, I really do.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because no, he was very strong in that opinion. Because when I first brought it up, I could see him, and he was getting aggravated at me. He did not like the fact that I was saying this, and I stood my ground. I'm like, you don't have to like that I'm telling you this, but this is in fact how it made me feel, or how had it made Lauren feel, and this is how I felt about the situation. I said, so I just wanted to like speak with you about it, like just kind of talk through it or whatever. But it took a good 10-ish, 15 minutes for him to kind of, you could kind of see him start to come down a little bit and be a little bit more reasonable, because he went full on defensive mode for sure.
Which he tends to do that,
Well,
as do you.
Well, and as he should. That is so that kind of just to bring it full circle, that is the circle of life, and that is how it is supposed to work.
Sure.
It doesn't make it any easier on a parent to realize that, wow, like, Mama, he's not yours anymore.
Yeah.
Like, he's moved out, he's moved on, and he has a person, and that I would never want anything different. Like, that's what I want for him. So I'm very happy for that. I don't want anybody to be confused about that. However, as a mom, and for those of you out there that are moms, and especially boy moms, you can understand that feeling. It is a wow, they finally, like, it is a real true, like, they have left the nest completely. Like, it is done. So
I'm curious, without making concrete plans, if they call us a year from now and say, let's do XYZ, whether or not it's a theme park, another vacation, or whatever, A, would you do it? And B, what are just one or two things you would consider doing differently?
I absolutely would do it. Assuming it's something that I want to go do. I would just, I guess I would say, if it were like a theme park, again, well, I already know. I understand now. I understand what they like to do versus what I like to do. So I would set things up like that accordingly. And I think that I feel like I sort of did that this time, but I still feel like they felt some sort of obligation to kind of stick with us. And, that was never an expectation, obviously. I would just try to make that a little bit more like, hey, these are my plans. I want you to know my plans, so
we'll
that
see y'all back
you can make your plans accordingly to whatever it is you guys want to do. And if you want to hang out and you know where we're at. If you don't, we'll see you when we get back to the condo, kind of thing. And so, I think that would be the main difference. And then I always, anytime if it's something that we're going somewhere together and we're trying to have a place to stay, I like for everybody to have their own space. And so everybody having their own bedroom, their own bed to sleep in, and possibly their own bathroom. Because I don't want to share a bathroom with anybody.
Well, but that was pretty much the case this trip.
They had one bathroom between the three of them.
Yeah, I don't care about them. I'm just worried about us.
I do. I like to try to make sure they all have their own space. It really is just that. I think that's really it. Because we've been to the beach with everybody before, and when they were younger, and, that wasn't a big deal.
See, I would see the beach being basically the same way, in that you and I literally could stay on the beach all day. And then, of course, I'm going to find somebody to do something with or whatever, but Jackson's not, rightfully so, because he's a lot more fair skinned, does not care for the beach the entire day. But I think with that, it's easier to say, okay, we're going to stay down here, y'all go, or whatever. I don't think there's quite the level of this feel to, like, stick around with us. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the theme park is just different, because in my view personally, like, the tickets are very expensive, so I'm going to squeeze every dime I can out of that ticket for the length of time that I'm going to be there. And if others don't, that's fine. I'm completely okay with that. I think just really just trying to, again, say, you guys do your thing. Do your whatever it is that you want to do. I want you guys to do what you want to do. It is.
So maybe when we do this again, maybe let's say it's a 4-day vacation or 5-day or whatever. Maybe we need to, like, mandate a day. Okay, we'll see y'all at 11 o'clock tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like
Sure,
we hang out for the first 2 days, and then we need a day apart, and then we'll be missing you guys, and we'll be excited to see you on day 4.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And if anybody says that, if they were to say, no, we didn't get sick of you guys, lies. Absolute lies. I don't believe them, because I get sick of them. Like I get sick of anybody that.
Well,
I'm
I mean, they left on day 3. I mean, whatever the last day was. I mean, they ended up leaving early because they wanted to get home to the dogs. Yes. They wanted to sleep in their own bed. I mean, I get it. I mean, I was, in fact, the last day, I ended up riding back with them.
Yeah.
And then you and Lauren ended up shutting the park down, and I walked to some sushi place. Yeah. And then it was a massage parlor next to the sushi place that opened till 10 p.m. And I sent Annie a text. I was like, hey, like, would you care if I got a massage?
I was like,
she said,
yeah.
If they're open right now at 9:30 at night, hell no, you're not going to get a massage.
No, you're not getting that massage.
I should have just asked for forgiveness versus permission.
No, I don't think that would have been a great thing to ask for forgiveness on. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there now. So,
you see that? Okay.
Yeah. And so, anyway, it was a good vacation. It just was a different, like, that it was just a different dynamic. It was just getting used to, something we had not done together before. Yeah. And so it doesn't make it's not bad. It was just different. Yeah. And so I would 100% go do it again. Like I said, it was like going to those 2 parks. I'm like, I don't do the whole Disney adult thing. Like, I'm not going to be wearing Mickey Mouse sweatshirts around here or whatever. But my God, when you put me in that environment, I 100% could be a Disney adult. Like, I love it. So if anybody out there, when you are going, if you need another adult to go with you, call me. I'll go. I enjoy it. Any of the parks, I don't care. Except Animal Kingdom. I don't know if I like Animal. We went with your mom and dad to Animal Kingdom.
That would probably be the one that I would like the most.
I know, that's probably would be the one you like the most.
I mean, I've literally been asking you to take me to the zoo for years now.
I feel like that one is the hottest for some reason.
I need to just go. I'm just going to go to the zoo by myself.
You're not going to go by yourself.
I absolutely will.
No. Anyway, so it was a very good vacation. It was a good conversation with Jackson afterwards. I had said, I just wanted to talk to you about it. This is not anything that you need to, say or mention. As a matter of fact, I don't want you to say anything to Ashley. But of course, he ignores me and he lets Ashley text Ashley or whatever. And so then Ashley, feels badly. And so she texts Lauren. And then we had to have, I think by the time Lauren is Jackson's age and out of this house, I probably will actually be a certified counselor. I think 100%. Because then we had to have this whole conversation with Lauren of, she was like, well, I don't know. This is she gonna apologize but just turn around and do this again? And I'm like, but hold on, where's that coming from? And why is that your first immediate thought? Like, that's not what your first immediate thought should be. And we had to talk through this apology and like, why is it a genuine apology and why are you not feeling like it is? And it comes right back to
and then too, like, trying to help her understand that sometimes just saying thank you is not enough. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, you need to take ownership of how you feel and that kind of thing. But it's also, you have to show empathy. You have to be sympathetic sometimes. You have to maybe go a little bit above and beyond. And I know that I can tend to probably overdo it sometimes, but that's part of that. Like the one thing that affection, I think, is maybe the word I'm thinking about. Like Lauren's not a very affectionate person. And I don't mean just like physical affection. I mean just like saying affectionate type words. And I think that is one area that she needs to continue to develop in, because you can make people feel really good with their words, words. You can make people feel really bad with your words, and learn how to communicate. And like when that text came through, like just saying okay is not enough in this situation. I mean, This is going to be your sister-in-law one day, and you need to be able to kind of express how you're feeling and how it made you feel, and you apologize for your part of it and that kind of thing. So
yeah,
it's all a learning experience, but
it is all a learning experience, and that's the only reason I'm sharing it, because I think it's just yet another, when you think you've hit all the family dynamics, another one comes and smacks you upside the head. And so it's just something we had not experienced, and now we have. And so, we've moved through it.
Next time we're going to have mandated departure. We'll see y'all on Thursday. We're taking Wednesday off. We'll see you on Thursday.
No, I mean, I feel like I've gotten pretty good at saying, okay, like, here's the one thing that I want. I feel like I'm a pretty decent, like, mom and mother-in-law. I mean, I'm not technically a mother-in-law at this point, but I do think that I'm pretty much like, okay, this is the one thing that I want. You guys tell me when it can happen. This is the only thing that I want all of us to do together or whatever. But I'm very flexible on when it can happen type thing. You guys tell me when it'll work for you, kind of whatever. I feel I've gotten better about at least like voicing that particular piece.
I agree.
For myself.
That you're at least saying that, yes.
And also just like letting go. Like it's there's so much, what's the word? It is a breath of, it's just a sigh. It's a real big sigh and a relief to not feel like you need to control everything all the time when it comes to these family plans and dynamics and vacations and holidays and whatever. It's like the more I have just gone with the flow, it is so much better for me. The anxiety that I do not have, like when I hear about other people that talking about, the family's getting together and, we're got to work around this schedule, work around that schedule. And I'm like, you know what? I'm putting it out here. This is what it is. If you can come, cool. If you can't, okay, I'll see you whenever I see you. Love you, mean it, but this is the time I'm doing it. I'm not mad at you, but I'm also not going to rearrange my entire life to, make it all work. It's not that big of a deal. Literally, like, the holidays, these things, it's just another day, honestly. Yeah. Like, I know we're, like, making it into this huge thing. It's really just a day. Like, it's just a day. There'll be another one.
Yep.
It's fine. So I highly recommend taking that stance if you, have kids that are married and off. And I'm telling you what, if you are having any kind of anxiety and it's causing you stress, let that shit go, because it'll be the best thing you ever do. 100.
So if you can make me laugh right now, I'll give you some tonight.
No, negative. All right, guys, we love you so much. Are we gonna have an episode next week? Because I'm gonna be in Ohio.
Maybe you and Courtney and Amy can do it.
Yeah, maybe that'll be a great time for me to do an episode with them, and I can talk to you guys. Guys, I'm staying in the same fucking Airbnb.
The haunted one.
The haunted Airbnb. No, I don't think it's haunted because I apparently brought it home with me.
We're gonna need Bud's mom to come back over again.
No, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna
invite it. Do not tempt it, or whatever y'all did last time.
Well,
egged it on.
No, I'm putting a layer of protection around that house. Believe. We gonna be saging. I'm gonna be dripping oil. I'm gonna be taking my crystals. We're gonna be doing all the things, putting a bubble of protection around myself and around that house. So
all right.
It will all be good. But I'll have some stories hopefully.
I'm gonna miss you next week.
You're not. And
I am gonna miss you. And then I'm going on a fishing trip when you get back.
I know. I'm gonna miss you too, babe.
Whatever.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.